Hello everyone! Welcome to Downtown Tailoring. Today's video has been requested many times. We are going to replace the lining to this authentic duffel coat. This is a real vintage garment made in England. My customer is very excited about it, but not so much about the pinkish color of the lining. Anyway, the color doesn't look really great, so I think it's very pertinent to replace that lining. Do you think that is worth or not doing that job for a coat? Please let me know in the comments. The first thing I usually do when I'm replacing the lining is to check how this lining is done. What I usually do is to take pictures in all the important points, the color, the facing. After, when I'm finishing, I can check my pictures and then remember the way they are. The hoodie, even the labels, everything. And then I'm ready to remove the lining. When I open those seams, I try to be very careful but fast. This is a job that takes quite some time, so when I'm doing it, I'm usually very concentrated. This seam is too thick for me to open it using my razor blade only. That's why I'm just breaking stitch by stitch. And then when I have breaking enough, I can then open it a little bit easier. In the past, I always was intimidated by replacing linings. But one day, a customer came with 6 jackets to replace the lining. So after that experience, of course, I cannot be afraid anymore. So while I'm opening this coat, I realized that this lining has been added to the coat. Well, I have my lining out, and my next step is to separate the pieces. Usually you just need to separate half of the pieces because most of the lining are symmetrical. I will ask my colleague to help me doing that job as I'm so busy these days. When I have all my pieces separate, I'm gonna find my lining. And I'm gonna use the same style satin with cotton backing, which is very good for Canadian winter. And remember that always is nicer if you take your iron and iron it. Sometimes you don't need that so much, but it's always better. And as well, it's good to iron the pieces if you can, just to be able to accommodate them easier. So I'm going to accommodate half of my pieces. The only thing different that I'm going to do here is to add a pleat at the center because that gives some ease to the jacket and it lasts longer. But all the rest of the pieces I will cut exactly the same size as they were. Even if this lining is not original, it was working properly, so I don't need to change that. After I cut all my pieces, then I will remove the backing piece that I have. This is not a step that you usually will do. The customer asked me to do it because, as I said before, I live in the coldest capital city in the world. So this backing piece is very, very good for the cold too. So I'm removing all my pieces and then I'm going to sew them all together. And you know, when you have 2 pieces that are fairly big and you want to sew them together, you have to make sure to put them flat on a table and then pin them very well. And if you can baste them, it's even better. So I'm gonna start with my sleeve. The pieces are a little bit smaller. It was like that from the beginning, so if that works before, I'm okay with that. And then I'm gonna sew the back part of the sleeve. And when you do that, and you sew both the sleeve, it's better that you go to your ironing board and then iron that seam and then iron it open. This is the best and easier opportunity you have to do that. After that, then I'm going to sew the front seam of the sleeve, but I'm gonna leave like a good 7 to 10 inches open. And that is a standard way to do that, because that will allow you to close it after. So I'm gonna do the same in all my pieces. With the back, because I add the pleat, I have to open a little bit at the center so I can accommodate everything again. And remember as well that I remove a label, and those labels are really important because it's part of the history of the garment. So most of the time, I'd say like a 90% of the time, I'm gonna put the label back when I replace the lining. So if you are gonna do it yourself, I really recommend you to do it. Now I have my lining almost done. I just need to sew the sleeve and the hood. Remember that in the sleeve, the longest seam is the one that goes at the back and the shortest at the front. Always the sleeve is the most difficult, but if you practice enough and ease it, it's pretty good, it's pretty easy. I have my lining all assembled, and now I need to sew it to my garment. And remember that if I get a little bit confused, I will just take my pictures and then I will just take a look and then copy what it was before. The easiest for me is to put them lining and coat together, and that way I will go step by step. I will start by the hood, and this time I'm gonna try to do it a little bit different because I saw that when they did it, it was kind of crooked. So I know that this part is a little bit tricky, and instead of just pin it, I will baste it. And that way, when I take my zipper foot, it will be so easy to do. It makes me feel very calm and happy to have the first part ready and nice and looking good. This coat is a little heavy, so I think that will serve as a workout for me as well. The next step is to sew the facing and the rest of the hood. And I see that this zipper is really bad. They fix it in a very bad way. And I will open it and then try to fix it a little bit better. And I'm thinking that I should sew in a different way. I will sew the hem first. So when I sew the facing, the hem will be already done. But I will change a little bit the way because I think it will look cleaner than sew it in the same way that it was before. Remember that if I were working with the factory lining, I would be doing exactly the same. But, as I am doing something, I will do it in the way that I think is better under my point of view, of course, because everybody has different points of view, right? And I think, it looks cleaner and nicer because now I am not hiding the piping. This piping is very nice and beautiful. So now I'm gonna sew the hood in the same way. I pinch it a little bit so it has enough movement. And then I'm gonna sew the same way I did the facing. I think now I know, I'm very sure that this way will look way better. And for the top of the facing, I will do exactly the same that they did before. They sew it by hand with a kind of hidden stitch. I think I'm done with that. And here you go. This is my cut. Check all those finished. They are either the same or very nice. And oops, I forgot to put this one. This is the care instruction. I'm gonna sew it right now because those care instructions are so important. The sleeves are in the same way. So it's all done. And here you go. This is the way it looks on my mannequin, but let me show it on my customer. Look at that. Amazing, amazing. This coat, I think he will use that coat for years. So guys, I hope that you like this video. If you find this video useful, please give us a like and don't forget to subscribe, share, comment. Bye!